the reason for purifying the mirror of the heart is so that the glance of the beloved will be reflected in it. That must be a really remarkable experience, and I'm wondering how it affects the Sufi practitioner, the Sufi lover.
Yeah, so this glance of the beloved through the mirror of heart, it works in multiple dimensions. And the first and the very obvious one is that it breaks all the idols of human intellect or the conditioning of the mind through which you have assumed, and everybody has assumed, Lord in different ways, right? So the capacity of the human mind is to work through duality. Right? It goes like that way. It makes the comparison, right? To make understanding of one thing. You need the example or a standard point or a reference point through which you make the understanding of something. Since now we are talking about oneness and the beauty of oneness, we in our lives so far have experienced the multiplicity of the beauty, but not that singular complete beauty. So all those idols, they just break, and you go in the realm of wonderness. You wonder, your eyes spread, right? Your senses, they are all blown up. Oh, what is this, right? And for a moment, you go blind. For a moment, you go blind, and you have seen, I mean, the writers, the people of pen, the poets, right? They say that love is blind. They somehow give some relationship of blindness with the love. Now what is that blindness? That blindness is that all of a sudden, right? Because it is so unique, there is no reference point, so you go blind. It is as like from the darkness you come into the flashlights and you go blind. And momentarily your sight is gone, right? So that blindness comes in. Right? Because it is so shining and so intense, and you have no experience of whatsoever in your knowledge, in your experience, right? So that is the very first thing. That is the very obvious thing which happens, and that is where people who are not in love, they see lover as a blind and a mad person. Oh, he has gone mad. But he has not gone mad. He has gone into a different zone of presence in the court of beauty. We are in this zone of our human physical presence where we are experiencing different shades of beauty, different reflections of beauty, different forms of beauty, everything in multiplicity, not in oneness. And imagine, I mean, how wondrous it is, by the way. Look at this weather, look at these leaves, this fall coming in, these clouds, this weather, this beautiful wind. Everything is beautiful, right? Everything is amazing, right? Now, just for a second, if we imagine that if it is a collective beauty and if it all comes in one package, how wondrous it would be, and what effect it will have on the lover. So these are the things that, first of all, I mean, what happens? We are not talking about uh, study of spirituality, we are talking about going on a spiritual path and what is happening on that journey, right? So experiences might be different, right? Your path is very unique, like your own self, right? And your experiences are very different, like your own self, as how it is different. Then in Sufi philosophy, there is a continuous flow of what we call tajalli. Tajalli, if we try to translate into English, it is the reflections of the lights or the fall of the lights, right? And every fall of that divine light or every fall of that divine reflection is never repeated again. So it is unique. So your experience as a lover, right, to see the glance of beloved through your heart, all would be always different from mine one. Because those tajallis, those reflections are never repeated again. They come and they go. So even if two sages are sitting together, I mean, we are two students sitting together, right, trying to learn. Even if two sages who have the experience of looking at that glance of beloved, even their knowledge is different. Because what you have seen was unique. I mean, in principle, it would have never repeated itself again. And what I experience, it is also different, right? Though in principle we know that, okay, we experience the same thing, but when we will tell, it will be very unique. That's how unique the love is. That's where love is said to be divine. And love is said to be so vast, right, that when in speech or when in commenting on love, it becomes difficult to define it, and it cannot be defined as such, because the beauty, the uniqueness of this beauty is very unique. It is not repeated. So your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience is always different. The glance you saw would always be different from the glance what I saw. Yeah. So it will have different effects on different lovers. But in principle, what I was saying, that at first, whatever that glance or whatever detail of the glance we will share with each other, what they essentially would or primarily would be doing with the lover is that lover would go blind, right? Lover momentarily will go out of his senses or would appear to the non-lovers as he has gone out of sanity. Yeah. So this happens. But when you go through the experiences again and again, then what happens is that lover goes into another consciousness. This blindness is different from the physical blindness. One has to remember this thing, that in physical blindness, you are unable, your sight is unable to see anything. But here, in this blindness of love, you are unable to see anything but beloved. Yeah. So this is the difference. So when a lover will be looking at any creation, he will actually be looking at the beloved. Yeah. So it is quite different. It is not something which can be explained through words. Since it relates to your heart and your emotions, and words at their very best somehow are the limitations, right? The speech of love is not love. So it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult in explaining love, because whatever you are doing is either you are writing love. Writing of love is not love. Speech of love is not love. At the max, they are writings and they are words. Yeah. So this experience and how it affects the lover is very unique. It is not something which I can just explain it to you like this. And probably that is the one reason that in the human history, humans have failed. They have defined atoms, they have defined electrons, they have defined very minute things. But love, which is present throughout the human history, within me and outside of me, we have been failed to define it in some words.